You've been lied to, but not by your enemies, your critics, or even the world. You've been deceived by something far closer, something that wears your face, speaks in your voice, and lives inside your mind. It's the voice that whispers when the room is quiet, the one that says you're not good enough, not strong enough, not smart enough. That voice has a mission: to keep you small. You might call it doubt. Others call it fear. Psychologists describe it as the internal critic, a pattern of negative self-talk hardwired into the human brain through evolution. It once served a purpose: protect, preserve, avoid risk. But in a modern world where thriving demands courage, that same voice becomes a parasite. Left unchecked, it drains your potential, your power, your purpose. Picture a man standing at the edge of a bridge, his whole life on the other side. But he's frozen. Not by a wall, not by a chain, but by his thoughts. What if I fall? What if I fail? What if they laugh? That bridge isn't physical. It's psychological. And unless he crosses it, he'll spend a lifetime pacing the same side, wondering what could have been. That man, he's not just a metaphor. He's many. He may even be you. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But here's the twist. Most never find their why because they've already surrendered to the how. The mental barriers. The constant background hum of self-doubt, the belief that they're unworthy of more. And in that quiet surrender, the greatest potential stories of strength are never told. But there's another path, a violent severing from that inner saboteur. It's not gentle, it's not kind, and it's not found in books filled with affirmations and soft promises. It starts with confrontation. You must look that voice in the eye and say, "You don't run the show anymore. I do." This isn't about managing negative thoughts. It's about eliminating them, like a surgeon cutting away infected tissue, like a soldier clearing a battlefield. Power, real power, starts when the war is won not outside but within. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote not of compassion, but of control. Not of comfort, but of conquest, starting with the self. So today, draw your line in the sand. Declare that your mind either serves you or is replaced. Because until you win that inner war, nothing you build will stand. And once you do, the game changes. You stop surviving. You start commanding. Declare it now. I am stronger than my mind. Say it aloud. Write it down. Let it echo until it becomes the only voice that speaks. Because once you do, you're no longer a prisoner. You're the executioner, and your first target is weakness. Let's go deeper. That voice, the whisper of hesitation, the echo of fear, it doesn't come from nowhere. It's built from every scar, every failure, every moment you were told or felt that you weren't enough. But understand this. Those were experiences, not truths, not prophecies, just moments. And moments do not define men. Decisions do. The real enemy is not the past, not your parents, not the people who doubted you. The real enemy is the belief you accepted from them and repeated to yourself 1,000 times until it felt like identity. But beliefs are choices, and choices can be changed. Psychology calls this cognitive distortion, when your mind takes a single negative event and builds an entire story around it. You didn't just make a mistake. You labeled yourself a failure. You weren't just rejected. You decided you were unlovable. These distortions become mental prisons, and the longer you sit in them, the more they feel like home. But listen closely. That feeling is a lie. Fear feels safe. Self-doubt feels responsible. Hesitation feels intelligent. But they are all illusions. They are the mind's way of avoiding risk by pretending to protect you. In truth, they are shields made of paper. The philosopher Baruch Spinoza wrote, "The endeavor to understand is the first and only basis of virtue." To rule your mind, you must first understand it. Trace that voice of fear to its source. Is it a memory, a face, a failure? Then ask, does it still serve you? If not, you don't manage it. You don't bargain with it. You kill it. This is not brutality. This is discipline. Self-preservation at the highest level. When your thoughts act like enemies, you treat them like enemies. You intercept them the moment they rise. You answer every whisper of weakness with action, every seed of doubt with movement, every fear with defiance. There is no neutral thought. Each one is a step forward or a step back. Either it builds you or it breaks you. And if you tolerate sabotage in your own mind, don't be surprised when the world treats you like a servant, because a man who doesn't lead himself will always be led by others. So here's your command for today. Identify one recurring negative thought that has held you hostage. Give it a name. Call it out. Write it down. Then destroy it. Replace it with its opposite, not just in words, but in action. And speak this truth aloud. My thoughts obey me. I do not obey them. This is the foundation. From here, you don't just resist weakness. You become the ruler of your mind, the one force no man can take from you. The stronger that foundation, the higher you can rise. The mind is your kingdom. And kingdoms are not governed by compromise. They are ruled by force, by will, by clarity. Now burn this into your identity, because the man who cannot master his own thoughts will always kneel before one who can. Let's now talk about power. Not the illusion of power found in applause or social status, but the kind that begins in silence, within the fortress of the mind. True power isn't loud. It's not charisma. It's not charm. And it's certainly not popularity. It's sovereignty. The ability to command your own thoughts without apology, without hesitation. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this better than most. He saw that men fall not because of external forces, but because they surrender internally. They are not defeated by enemies, but by their own illusions of safety, of comfort, of certainty. He wrote not to flatter men, but to strip them of delusion. And that is what we must do now. Most people are on a leash, not one they can see, but one they feel. It tugs at them every time they try to rise. It's made of fear, doubt, and emotional chaos. And here's the truth. No one is coming to cut that leash for you. Not your friends, not your family, not society. In fact, the world has every reason to keep you average, because when you rise, they are forced to confront their own stagnation. Your strength becomes their mirror. So they will call you cold, they will say you've changed, and they will be right. You have changed. You've stopped asking for permission. You've stopped pretending that everyone deserves a vote in your destiny. You've stopped tolerating the slow death of potential in exchange for comfort. To live like this, you must become ruthless, not cruel. Ruthless. That means every thought of doubt is a spy, every mental hesitation is a traitor, and your duty is not to entertain them, it is to eliminate them. The moment your mind whispers, maybe not today, you whisper back, watch me. This is the essence of psychological power, the kind that can't be seen but is always felt. When you walk into a room, people notice, not because of how you dress or how you speak, but because of the energy that radiates from a mind that no longer wavers. You do not shake, you do not beg, you do not fold. In psychology, this is called internal locus of control, the belief that you, not fate or others, are the architect of your life. Study after study links this mindset to higher performance, greater resilience, and long-term success. It's not just philosophy, it's science, and it begins with one decision, that nothing inside you will be allowed to control you unless it serves you. So, you make the declaration now. My mind is my fortress. I am its master. No one can hand you this identity. You must build it, brick by brick, discipline by discipline, and every time weakness appears, you crush it, not with anger, but with clarity. Not with emotion, but with execution, because once you control your inner dialogue, you become untouchable in the outer world. That is the shift, from servant to ruler, from reactor to creator. And the world only respects creators. Now step forward with this truth engraved in your being. A man who commands himself commands the world. And that begins not with domination over others, but with domination over thought. Your mind is a battlefield. But most men step into it unarmed. They march through life ambushed daily by their own thoughts, doubts, fears, anxieties, without ever understanding that those thoughts were not ordained, they were allowed. And what you allow will rule you. Let's make this clear. The strongest man in the room is not the one who lifts the most or shouts the loudest. It is the one whose mind is quiet, focused, unbreakable. That man doesn't react, he decides. He doesn't collapse, he calculates. He doesn't wish, he acts. His thoughts are not passengers. They are soldiers, disciplined, trained, deadly. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the bold, but boldness without a trained mind is recklessness in disguise. You've seen it, men who rush forward without strategy, collapsing under the weight of their own chaos. That's not courage. That's emotional disorder. A man who has not forged his mind will mistake panic for passion, insecurity for instinct. So how do you weaponize your mind? First, you treat every negative thought as an intruder. You don't host it, you don't converse with it, you interrogate it, and then you eliminate it. No trial, no delay. It dies or you do. That is the level of clarity required. Second, you reprogram. Replace "I can't" with "watch me." Replace "what if I fail" with "what if I dominate." Replace "I'm not ready" with "I was made for this." These are not slogans, they are commands, orders issued by the highest authority, your sovereign self. Neuroscience shows that thought patterns carve neurological pathways. What you repeat becomes default. So every time you execute a weak thought and replace it with a commanding one, you're not just changing your mood, you're rewiring your brain. Over time, hesitation dies, confidence becomes reflex. And third, you extend this discipline outward. Once your mind is a weapon, you use it, not to harm, but to influence, not to shout, but to lead. The man who rules his own psychology can walk into any room and command it without raising his voice. Because real power is silent. It doesn't beg for attention, it bends the environment. Most people feed their minds trash, negativity, gossip, distractions, and they wonder why their lives feel chaotic. You must feed your mind steel. Read what sharpens, watch what strengthens, speak what aligns, because when your thoughts are forged in fire, your reality will be too. Now declare it, my mind is my weapon and I sharpen it daily. Own that truth. Say it until the world no longer hears your doubts, only your decisions. You are not here to wander, you are here to conquer, and the first territory is your own mind. So walk onto that battlefield, not unarmed, not afraid, but ready. Because the man who sharpens his mind cannot be disarmed by anyone. Discipline is not about control over others. It is about control over yourself. The moment you understand this, the game changes, the rules bend, the noise fades. Because now you're not seeking motivation, you're enforcing law. And that law is simple. Weakness dies on sight. Weak men fantasize about positivity. They think soft words can heal sharp wounds. They chant affirmations like spells, hoping their fears will magically disappear. But fear doesn't vanish, it must be executed. Doubt doesn't dissolve, it must be crushed. The fortress mind is not built on hope. It is built on ruthless, relentless, psychological discipline. Discipline is the cold act of cutting weakness before it roots. You don't allow excuses to fester. You don't explain away laziness. You see it, you name it, you end it. That is the standard. And that standard is non-negotiable. Here's the process. 4 steps. No fluff. Step 1. Observe without mercy. The second a thought appears, I can't. I'm tired. Maybe later. You catch it like a spy in your kingdom. No sympathy. No justification. You see it as sabotage. Step 2. Confront with force. You call it what it is. Weakness. Treason. Lies. You don't sugarcoat it. You drag it into the light. You expose it. Because truth, when named, loses its disguise. Step 3. Execute instantly, not eventually. Now, you replace it with power. If your mind says, I might fail, you respond, I am inevitable. If it says, you aren't ready, you reply, I was made for this. This is not debate, it's enforcement. Step 4. Reinforce with action. Action is the final bullet. You do the thing fear told you to avoid. You move forward while weakness begs you to stop. Every time you act against doubt, your brain learns. Hesitation is not tolerated. Dark psychology tells us the truth others hide. Identity is formed through repetition. Every time you replace weakness with dominance, you carve a new pattern. Eventually, your brain stops producing fear because it knows it won't survive. That's discipline. That's programming. That's power. The undisciplined man is ruled by moods. The disciplined man is ruled by mission. One flinches under pressure, the other becomes sharper. One bends to environment, the other reshapes it. This contrast is what separates ordinary from sovereign. So speak this truth aloud. I execute weakness the moment it appears. Say it, own it. Because until you do, you will always be ruled by emotion, by distraction, by fragility. And you were not born for that. You were born to command, to build, to rise. Understand this. Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. It is identity. It is the armor you wear when life attacks. Without it, you crumble. With it, you radiate something the world cannot break. This is the creed of the fortress mind, not kind, not soft, but unshakable. Now burn it into your code, because only the man who rules his own weakness can ever be trusted to lead anything else. Power begins within. You've heard that. You might even believe it. But belief without embodiment is just theory. Inner conquest must spill into the outer world, or it means nothing. You are not here just to feel strong. You are here to act strong, to become the kind of man who shapes reality through sheer presence. That presence doesn't come from noise. It comes from clarity. The man who has executed weakness in his mind walks differently, speaks differently, decides differently. There's a stillness in him, a gravity, and when he enters the room adjusts. You see, people sense doubt. They smell hesitation. It leaks from your eyes, your tone, your posture. You can't fake confidence. You either rule your mind or your mind betrays you, and the world punishes betrayal, harshly. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine you've eliminated every self-sabotaging thought before it could breathe. Imagine a mind trained to think only in power, strategy, and certainty. Every movement becomes decisive. Every word carries weight. That's when you stop reacting and start leading. Machiavelli taught that appearances shape power, but those appearances must be forged from inner substance. If your foundation is soft, no mask will hold. The weak man eventually crumbles under the pressure of pretending. The strong man, he doesn't pretend, he becomes. Let's break it down. First, decision-making. The average man delays, doubts, wanders. He's addicted to what if. But you act, because you've silenced the voice that says wait. That difference, split-second decisiveness, is the difference between dominance and regret. Second, influence. Negative thinkers sabotage their own message. Their words are hollow because they carry uncertainty. But when you speak from a fortress mind, people feel it. Your voice doesn't need to convince. It commands, because truth delivered without hesitation is magnetic. Third, resilience. Life will hit you. That's a guarantee. The storms are coming. Financial, relational, existential. Weak men collapse because their minds were built on sand. But you've trained for war. You respond with calm. You adapt, not react. While others drown, you calculate. Understand this. The external world is nothing but a reflection of your inner world. If you are chaotic inside, your life will be chaos. If you are fortified, your life becomes structure, momentum, command. That is not philosophy. That is physics. That is pattern. That is reality. So declare this now. I rule myself. Therefore, I rule the game. Own that truth. Print it on your thoughts. Etch it into your identity. Because the man who conquers himself doesn't just survive the world, he bends it. And that, right there, is the shift. From a life of reaction to a life of creation. From hoping things change to making them change. From being ruled by the storm to becoming the storm. Now ask yourself one question. Are you building a mind that collapses or a mind that commands? There comes a moment when the game changes, when you stop playing defense and start going on the offensive. When you're no longer trying to survive the world, but bend it. That moment begins not with others, but with you. With the final death of weakness and the rise of strategic dominance. Once your mind is forged, once your inner war is won, the battlefield shifts. You no longer need to fight yourself. Now you move outward. You begin to shape the world with quiet, deliberate force. This is not arrogance. It's not aggression. It's sovereignty in action. Machiavelli observed that men are not moved by truth, but by perception, fear, and hope. The man who has mastered himself is immune to manipulation and gains the ability to manipulate without ever raising his voice. He is not cruel. He is calculated, not reckless, but surgical. This is not about deceit. It's about understanding the levers that move people and pulling them with precision. This begins with presence. When you walk into a room, energy shifts. Not because you demand attention, but because you no longer need it. That absence of need creates gravity. The untouchable man doesn't chase. He chooses, and people feel that. In negotiation, he doesn't overtalk. He listens. He waits. His silence forces others to speak, reveal, unravel. He sets the terms not with volume, but with certainty. That's power. In relationships, he doesn't cling. He doesn't beg for validation. He brings value. His security creates attraction. His independence commands respect. He is not ruled by insecurity, and therefore, he cannot be emotionally leveraged. That's power. In leadership, his team doesn't follow because of position. They follow because of stability. When others panic, he is still. When the room fractures, he becomes the anchor. Confidence, not chaos, becomes his signature. That's power. Understand this: most people are ruled by inner storms, emotions, doubts, the opinions of others. And because of that, they are easy to bend. But the man who has slain his own weakness becomes unreadable. And unreadable means uncontrollable. Dark psychology teaches us that people seek leadership when fear rises. They look for the one who does not flinch. That must be you, but you cannot fake that strength. You must become it. Kill your internal hesitation, and no external resistance can stop you. Now, declare it. I bend reality because I first bent myself. Say it with clarity. Live it with finality. The world does not yield to noise. It yields to command. And command is born in silence, in the quiet certainty of a mind that no longer asks, but decides. This is not about dominance for its own sake. It's about influence through integrity. It's about reshaping your life with deliberate intent, not reacting, not waiting, choosing, moving, shaping. That is the shift, from puppet to puppeteer, from passenger to pilot. And it all starts where no one else can see, in the chambers of your own mind. Now ask yourself, if your presence doesn't shift the room yet, what weakness still lives in your thoughts that must die? Power isn't proven when life is easy. Anyone can smile when the sun is shining. Anyone can speak with certainty when the outcome is obvious. But that's not where strength is revealed. The real test comes in chaos, in collapse, in those moments when everything feels like it's burning. Because when the storm hits, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of preparation. And if your mind was never trained, never sharpened, never disciplined, then chaos won't just shake you. It will break you. Machiavelli once compared fortune to a raging river, unpredictable, violent, destructive. But he also said that the prepared man doesn't fear the flood. He builds levees, he redirects it, he uses it. That's the mindset shift. Most men panic. The fortress mind pivots. When chaos comes, weak men wait for rescue. The fortress-minded man becomes the rescue. He doesn't flinch. He adapts. His calm becomes unsettling to others because it's unnatural. In a world ruled by emotional reaction, emotional control becomes dominance. Dark psychology shows that panic makes people predictable. When fear rises, logic drops. Most freeze, most fold. But you act. You move while others hesitate. You decide while others deliberate. And that one moment, between collapse and control, is where leaders are forged. Let's be practical. Chaos will expose you. Betrayal, financial loss, public failure, illness, isolation. These are not rare. They are guaranteed. But here's what separates men: the ones who treat those storms as identity-shattering events, and the ones who treat them as fire to forge through. When betrayal hits, the fortress-minded man does not beg. He replaces. He recalibrates. Loyalty is earned, not expected. When crisis strikes, he doesn't look outward. He looks inward, because the solution is never circumstance. It's sovereignty. When everything collapses, his posture stays tall, his voice stays low, his mind stays clear. Why? Because he already rehearsed this moment in silence. He didn't build strength for applause. He built it for war. You don't rise to adversity. You revert to training. So train like chaos is coming, because it is. Train like betrayal is coming, because it will. Prepare like comfort will disappear, because it always does. Now declare this: chaos cannot break me. It only sharpens me. Speak it until your nervous system believes it, until your first reaction in crisis is not fear, but focus. Understand this: being untouchable doesn't mean untouched by life. It means indestructible in spite of it. It means chaos doesn't drown you. It defines you. And when the fire clears, while others are in ashes, you will be standing, stronger, sharper, sovereign. So ask yourself today, not if chaos will come, but will you be ready when it does? Because if your answer is hesitation, then the work begins now. Because you don't build the fortress in the storm, you build it before it. And the ones who do? They don't just survive, they command. By now, the illusion should be shattered. The illusion that strength is something you find, that resilience is gifted, that mental fortitude is inherited. None of that is true. Strength is built, resilience is earned, and the untouchable mind is forged in fire, not found in comfort. So what does it mean to be untouchable? It doesn't mean nothing hurts. It doesn't mean you never fall. It means that no matter what happens, you do not break. You adapt, you advance, you endure. While others look for a way out, you look for a way through. And that difference? It changes everything. The untouchable man lives by three principles: self-rule, cold strategy, and ruthless adaptability. Self-rule means mastery over desire. Most men are slaves to lust, to ego, to fear. They react to everything. They chase approval. They avoid discomfort. The untouchable man governs these forces. He doesn't eliminate them. He commands them. Anger becomes fuel. Fear becomes signal. Desire becomes tool. He is not controlled by emotion. He directs it. Cold strategy is the second principle. This is not about being unfeeling. It's about being calculated. The untouchable man moves like a chess master. Every interaction is considered. Every step is intentional. He doesn't speak to be heard. He speaks to create outcomes. He doesn't act for applause. He acts for advantage. Nothing is random. Everything is leverage. Ruthless adaptability is the final trait. The world changes. People betray. Markets crash. Storms come. The weak cling to routine and break when it shatters. The untouchable man bends, but never snaps. He rebuilds faster than the world can destroy. He survives what others cannot, and through that survival, he gains everything they lost. This is what makes him dangerous. Society cannot shame him. Enemies cannot manipulate him. Even failure cannot stop him. It only refuels him, because he knows who he is, and because he rules himself. Nothing external can rule him. Let's make it practical. In negotiation, he enters with no desperation. That indifference unnerves people. Because you can't pressure a man who needs nothing. He doesn't chase outcomes. He creates them. In relationships, he doesn't cling. He doesn't beg. He selects. He attracts through grounded presence, not neediness. He doesn't fear loss because he never surrendered his self-worth in the first place. In leadership, he's not loud. He's calm. When things fall apart, people look to him, not because he promises safety, but because he radiates control. His presence calms storms. His words cut through fog. That is untouchable power. Now, say this: I am untouchable, not as a wish, but as a commitment. Because to live this way, you must sacrifice comfort. You must kill softness. You must bury the dream of an easy life and rise into the fire of a meaningful one. Weak men chase peace. Untouchable men create it through discipline, clarity, and total internal sovereignty. And if that's who you are becoming, then remember this: every moment of weakness tolerated is a betrayal. Every excuse entertained is a delay, and every day you let your mind drift is a day you forfeit the crown. So decide. Are you done entertaining weakness, or are you ready to rule? This is your threshold moment. No more theory, no more reflection. Just one question remains: will you act? Because power doesn't come from knowledge. It comes from execution. Knowing the path means nothing if you refuse to walk it. You've seen what needs to be done. You've looked your inner enemy in the face. You've dissected fear, exposed doubt, and felt the pull of comfort. And now, standing at the edge of who you were and who you could become, you must choose. There is no middle, no safe zone. You either rule your mind or your mind rules you. Every time you delay, every time you say tomorrow, you're feeding weakness. And weakness is not passive, it's predatory. Give it one breath and it will take your lungs. Give it 1 inch and it will drag you back into the pit. Machiavelli said, "Fortune favors the bold." Not the hopeful. Not the thinkers, the bold, the ones who act with conviction while others stall in hesitation. And the boldest act you will ever take is the execution of your own fragility. Every day, weakness will try to return. It never truly dies. It waits. It disguises itself as logic. It pretends to be humility. It wears the mask of caution. But you'll know it by one thing: it makes you hesitate. And when you hesitate, you lose. This is why execution must be daily, ruthless, unforgiving. You don't argue with weak thoughts. You destroy them. You don't question your worth. You declare it. You don't flinch. You command. That's the daily ritual of the fortress mind. Consistency is your crown. Relentlessness is your defense. And every time you kill a doubt, you sharpen your edge. Think back to the men you've seen fall. Coworkers, classmates, even friends. It wasn't circumstance that broke them. It was surrender. Quiet, invisible. Long before the outside crumbled, their inside did. They let fear linger, let doubt grow, let softness infect them. Don't you dare become one of them. You were not born to kneel. You were born to build. To lead. To rule. But only if you rule yourself first. So here's your final order. Kill your negative thinking. Not later. Now. Not softly. Completely. Daily. Ruthlessly. Until your thoughts serve only you. When the world sees you, let them see something they cannot label. Only feel. Let them sense a presence that doesn't flinch, that doesn't need validation, that doesn't ask for anything. Because that man, the untouchable one, terrifies the weak and inspires the willing. Now write this in stone. I kill weakness, I am untouchable. Say it aloud, say it as truth, say it until your reflection believes it. Because from this moment forward, you do not live by reaction, you live by command. And the man who lives by command is the one who shapes the world. This is not a quote, this is not motivation. This is identity. The final test of power. Will you stay the same or will you dominate? Let's talk about identity. Not the one given to you, not the one shaped by childhood, culture, or circumstance, but the identity you choose, the one you build with blood, decision, and discipline. Most men live with a borrowed identity. They are sons of expectation, servants to labels. They inherit self-worth from what others say, from what society permits. But understand this, if your identity was given to you, it can be taken from you. Real power only begins when you decide who you are, without permission. The fortress mind is not just about controlling thought, it's about forging identity. Because until you know who you are, everything else is fragile, doubt creeps in. Experiences and perspectives can shape us. But when an identity is chosen with care and deliberation, external events have less influence. To choose your identity is to chart your own course. You stop saying, "This is how I've always been," and start declaring, "This is who I am becoming." That shift makes all the difference. The moment you choose your identity, you begin creating your own story. Ask yourself, what kind of person meets challenges with confidence? What kind of person influences their world through thought and presence? What kind of person remains resilient, not because they haven't faced difficulties, but because they've grown stronger from them? That's the person you can become. Not later, not someday, now. Here's the process. Step 1. Define your identity. Write it down. Say it, live it, not as a hope, but as law. It must be non-negotiable. For example, I am unshakable. I am decisive. I am relentless. These aren't traits, they're truths. Step 2, prove it. Not through intention, but through action. If you say you're disciplined, your actions must reflect it, especially when it's uncomfortable. If you say you're focused, distractions die on sight. If you say you are unshakable, adversity becomes your training ground. Step 3, reinforce it. Identity is built through repetition. Every choice you make is a vote for the man you've declared yourself to be. There are no neutral actions. Each one confirms or contradicts your code. And step 4, protect it, ruthlessly. People will try to pull you back into comfort, into conformity. Not because they're evil, because your rise threatens their excuses. Your strength reminds them of their stagnation. Let them be offended. That's not your problem. That's their mirror. Declare this now. I choose my identity. I live by it. I protect it. That is the foundation of the fortress mind, not a reaction to life, a declaration to it. You no longer live by chance. You live by code. And when identity becomes code, you become unbreakable. Remember this, there is no greater force than a man who has decided who he is and refuses to negotiate with anything less. Because while others drift, he directs. While others conform, he commands. And while others wait to be told who they are, he builds who he must be. That is power. That is leadership. That is legacy. Let's now confront the greatest addiction of modern men, comfort. It is the most seductive prison. It doesn't chain your wrists or lock your door. It whispers to you. It wraps you in ease. It gives you just enough pleasure to keep you numb, but not enough meaning to make you alive. Comfort is not the reward, it's the test, and most men fail. They say yes to comfort and no to growth, yes to distraction and no to discipline, yes to temporary pleasure and no to permanent purpose. And slowly, day by day, they die, not in body but in will. But here's the truth. No one wants to say, comfort is the enemy of greatness. You will never rise to your potential inside a padded cage. You will never dominate from the couch. Power is forged in discomfort, not once, not in a weekend, daily. The fortress mind understands this. He doesn't avoid pain, he uses it. He doesn't resist challenge, he hunts it. Because every time he chooses discomfort over ease, he sharpens, he strengthens, he becomes more. Neuroscience confirms this. The brain doesn't grow under rest, it grows under pressure, under learning, under risk. That discomfort you feel when you stretch beyond your limits, that is not weakness, that is growth. So here's the law. Seek discomfort intentionally, not recklessly, but deliberately. Wake up earlier than your excuses. Work longer than your limits. Speak truth where others stay silent. Push your body, push your voice, push your potential. Every day you choose hard over easy, you earn another brick in the fortress. Every day you lean into the fire instead of flinching, you earn another edge. That is how the untouchable man is built, not by surviving ease, but by mastering adversity. And here's what happens. Your tolerance for hardship increases. What once felt unbearable becomes routine. While others panic at pressure, you perform. While they beg for relief, you rise in it. Discomfort becomes your weapon. You will hear others complain. You will see them stall. You will watch them negotiate with weakness. Let them. That is their path. Yours is different. Yours is forged, not found. And because of that, yours will last. Declare this now. I reject comfort. I train in discomfort. I rise through discomfort, not because pain is noble, but because it is necessary. Not because suffering is glamorous, but because it is transformative. The man who trains his body, mind, and decisions in discomfort cannot be dominated by a world built on ease. So ask yourself, where are you still seeking comfort when you should be seeking conquest? What habit, what excuse, what lie must be burned so your edge can be sharpened? Burn it today, because while comfort feels good, it robs you silently. And you were not born to be robbed, you were born to rise. We are nearing the end, but not the end of the story. The end of illusion, the death of smallness, and the beginning of something greater, psychological dominance, not over others, but over yourself. Because if you've followed this far, you've already felt it, that shift. The voice inside you, once chaotic, is quieter now, not silent, but disciplined, not gone, but ruled. And from that rule, real power begins to form. Now, you must take the next step, transformation. And transformation only happens when identity meets execution. You've declared your identity. You've rewritten your code. But until those declarations are lived through consistent action, they are still just ideas. Ideas don't shape destiny. Decisions do. Repeated decisions carve identity. That's the formula. So here is your test. Live as the man you've chosen to become, not in moments of motivation, but in the mundane, when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one is watching, especially then. You see, most men show discipline in bursts. They sprint on Monday and collapse by Thursday. They journal their vision and forget it by week's end. But the fortress mind is different. He doesn't just rise occasionally, he remains. That's what makes him terrifying. Not his strength, but his stability. Not his ambition, but his consistency. He does not rise and fall. He ascends and stays. How? Systems, standards, structure. He builds habits that reinforce his code. He eliminates patterns that erode it. He treats every day like a vote, either for the king he's becoming or the coward he used to be. And he does not tolerate betrayal, not from others, not from himself. So here's your next command. Step 1. Build systems. Decide your rules, your morning, your training, your intake, mental, emotional, physical. Make them non-negotiable. Not because you feel like it, because they are law. Step 2. Track actions. Not feelings, not hopes, actions. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets ignored decays. Step 3. Audit your circle. Who sharpens you? Who dulls you? Who drains you? If someone pulls you away from your code, they are a threat. Remove them or reduce them. Your environment must serve your evolution. Step 4. Review your performance. Weekly, relentlessly. Where did you hesitate? Where did you rise? What must improve? Growth is not accidental. It is engineered. Now say this: I live as the man I declared, daily, without apology. Because discipline isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. It's what separates warriors from wanderers. And once it's yours, really yours, it cannot be taken. So ask yourself this: will I be the man who knew the path and watched it fade, or the man who walked it, owned it, and never left it? The answer is not in your mouth, it's in your movement. And if you move with intention, there's no ceiling, no wall, only the next level. Because that's what the fortress mind builds: levels, legacy, leadership. And you are building it now. You've built the mind, forged the identity, structured the discipline. Now comes the harvest: influence. Not the shallow kind measured in likes and followers, the real kind, the kind that moves people, the kind that shapes outcomes, the kind that shifts rooms without saying a word. Understand this: true influence doesn't come from popularity, it comes from presence. And presence is the echo of internal power. When you've ruled your thoughts, trained your habits, and reinforced your identity, people can feel it before you speak. Most men try to influence by proving something. They overtalk, they over-explain, they beg for validation. But the fortress-minded man influences by being something, something rare, something unmoved, something undeniable. And here's the secret: people don't follow perfection. They follow clarity. They follow certainty. In times of confusion, the man who knows who he is becomes the natural leader, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. So if you want to influence others, your family, your team, your community, you don't start by changing them. You start by becoming someone they cannot ignore. You become the blueprint of what's possible. You model what discipline looks like. You live the truth most people are too scared to admit. That is what draws respect. Not talk, proof. And when they ask, how do you stay calm? How do you stay focused? How do you rise while others fall? You'll know the answer. It wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it was war, internal war, the one you won, alone, in silence. That story, the one of transformation through discipline, is what carries weight. Your pain becomes your power, your journey becomes your message. That's how leaders are made. Let's go further. When you lead, people mirror you. If you hesitate, they stall. If you doubt, they spiral. But if you remain calm, they adapt. If you remain decisive, they align. You don't need to control them. You influence them by controlling yourself. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But the fortress man earns both, not through manipulation, but through embodiment. He radiates strength. He walks in purpose. He does not ask for influence. He becomes influence. So ask yourself, what does your presence say before your mouth opens? Do you walk like a man who leads or a man who follows? Now declare this: I influence by being. I lead through embodiment. Write it, live it, share it, because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more examples. And when you become one, your very existence gives others permission to rise. That's how you leave a legacy, not by preaching, but by practicing, not by shouting, but by standing firm, not by demanding respect, but by becoming someone who commands it. So become that man, not next year, not someday, now, because your life is your platform, and every day is your stage. Make your presence undeniable. Make your silence louder than most people's noise. And watch the world adjust to your standard. This is it, the final turn in the path, not the end, because the fortress mind has no end. It evolves, it expands. But this moment, this is your moment of commitment. No more theory, no more inspiration, just truth, clarity, and action. You've walked through fire. You've dissected the architecture of weakness. You've killed the lies you once called thoughts. You've replaced fragility with focus, noise with structure, emotion with execution. And now, standing on the other side, one question remains. Who are you now? Not who were you. Not who they told you to be. Who have you chosen to become? You are no longer a victim of thought. You are the architect, no longer a servant to emotion. You are the master, no longer shaped by the world. You are the one who bends it. But remember this, the war never truly ends. Weakness will return in disguise, disguised as logic, as comfort, as just this once. It will whisper in moments of exhaustion. It will beg for mercy when you're alone. And that's when you strike. Not softly, not eventually, instantly. The fortress mind is built on vigilance, daily decisions, unseen victories. The world may never applaud it, but your life will be shaped by it. And one day, when others break under pressure, when chaos consumes the room, you will remain calm, focused, unmoved. Because you trained for this, you became this. This is your crown, inner sovereignty. This is your throne, self-mastery. This is your kingdom. Every moment you command with clarity, power, and purpose. Declare it now. I rule myself. I lead my life. I am untouchable. This is an affirmation. This is declaration. Say it aloud. Write it down. Share it. Etch it into your code. Because this is not just for you. It's for the man next to you who needs an example. It's for the son who watches you. For the brother who doubts himself. For the future you are building. Brick by brick. Thought by thought. So here's your final charge. Live this daily, without apology. And if this message spoke to your soul, if it ignited something buried deep beneath the noise of life, then do this. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone you know is ready to rise. And comment below. I kill weakness. I am untouchable. Not for vanity, for victory. Because once you declare it publicly, you are no longer hiding. You are stepping into the arena, fully, unshakably. This is your moment. Your crown is waiting. Your throne is built. The world is watching. Kill weakness. Build the fortress. Become untouchable.